All right. Hello, everyone. This is Eric from NextChapter. I'm here with Colin as well.
Hi, everybody. Colin Greiser with NextChapter here. Eric and I are both sales associates. We're looking forward to conducting today's webinar discussing making the switch to NextChapter.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've got a variety of people on the webinar here. Some of you current clients, some are potential new clients, some are just looking to get some more information about our cloud-based bankruptcy platform here at NextChapter. So what we'll cover today is kind of a brief overview of the NextChapter software, kind of give everyone a look at some of the features that we have, kind of what sets us apart from other companies in the industry, and kind of familiarize yourself, give you a high-level overview of the software in general, and we'll jump into some features. So what you'll learn today, hopefully you'll take away how exactly making the switch to NextChapter will work, and then we'll cover some of the cool features that we have that set us apart, like I said. Now, a couple of the main things that most people are using a bankruptcy software at some point, and the reason most people make the switch primarily is the nature of our software is cloud-based. So it's accessible from any browser on any computer, whether you're using Mac or PC, Windows, Firefox, whether you're using Google Chrome or Safari, you can access your case from anywhere. So that's one of the primary reasons people switch to NextChapter. The ease of use of NextChapter as well is incredibly easy to use. One of the biggest compliments that we get is how user-friendly our software is. So we'll be diving into some of those features here today. We are monitoring the chat, so if you do have any questions, feel free to say something in the chat. We'll be answering your questions at the end. So any questions that you have, please keep those in mind, type them out, and then we'll be happy to answer those once we wrap up as we get through the process here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Colin. We're going to share our screen here with you. And Colin's going to go over essentially what signing up for NextChapter would look like, what the process would be. So some of you on the call here have signed up for an actual account. And as you know from talking to us, if you have already, NextChapter is entirely free to use up to the point where you actually file your bankruptcy. So once you send that document to the court or you download the petition, that's when we'll ask you for the payment. You have full access to the entire application up to that point. So we encourage you after this call to hop on, if you haven't signed up already, and kind of explore, enter a John or Jane Doe case, and get started with filing with NextChapter. So I'm going to let Colin take it over here, but the screen you see here is the web page for nextchapterbk.com, where we'll start.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, as Eric said, it is completely free to get started. So when you are considering to make the switch to NextChapter, the very first step is to come to the website and to sign up for a free account. We do not ask for a credit card or any payment information of any kind ahead of time, so you're able to get in and really kind of play around with the software, get a good feel for it before you have to make a serious commitment. So you come to the website, we have these sign up buttons all over. This is just the homepage of the website. So right there's a big sign up button. I'm actually going to log into our testing account instead. But since Eric did mention it, one of the things that sets us apart is that cloud access. So just to give you a sense, today we are running on a Mac. I'm using Google Chrome as my preferred browser. But if you do prefer Firefox, Opera, Safari, whatever you're looking for, you can use that browser. It's going to work right there too. All right, I'm going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so this is what we call the firm dashboard. This is the homepage for NextChapter when you get logged into your account. When you first log in and get set up with a free account, there will be a brief onboarding tutorial that'll show you where some of these tools are located. And Eric's going to cover that when he does a full demo of the platform here in just a few minutes. But when you do set up your account, when you first log in, one of the first things you need to consider is making sure that it's set up to fit your firm. So we're going to do that today by first going into our account settings. So there's an account tab here at the top. Click on My Account Settings. And here are the account settings for your NextChapter account. So the first thing you see, My Firm, on that left-hand side. So that's going to be the basic details, of course. You're actually going to type this information in when you're setting up the account, when you first sign up. But some important things to point out here. From this screen is where you're going to be able to invite additional users into your account. So if you are working with other attorneys, other paralegals, this is where you can invite them in so that they have access to your cases and you guys can start working together. And again, because we're cloud-based, we can have multiple people logged in at the same time and even working in the same case at the same time. So it's important to get those invites sent once you have the account set up. Below that are billing and pricing information. So when you are ready to pull the trigger with NextChapter, you're going to want to make sure that you enter your credit card information into this section and click Save Billing Information. That will be the card that is charged when you do pick out the correct plan for your firm. It'll also be the card that's charged if you decide to take advantage of our credit report information. So once we have the billing information saved, the next tab down is our pricing plans. So we do have all of our pricing plans laid out here for you. That information is available on our website as well. But this is where you're going to come to select your plan. You can see that with our test account, I'm set up with our WOE plan, which is our biggest plan. But you'll come in here and you'll find the plan that's going to be best for you. You'll make that selection. So you don't have to worry about getting a hold of myself or Eric or another sales associate to get us to process a card. Whenever it's convenient for you, you just put that card information in, you come in and select the plan. It's going to work the same way with our other features. So below that are Chapter 13 plans and add-on tools. So we can come in, we can select the Chapter 13 plan that's relevant for your district, and whichever add-on tools are going to best fit the needs of your firm, whether that's NextChapter, our fully robust and customizable debtor portal, or if that's the Next Message client texting, you can select that as well. I do want to take just a moment to talk about these last two, though. So the NextChapter Concierge is a way for you to get additional hands-on help with setting up your account. And if you are purchasing some of these other add-ons and you're less familiar with the system, it's a great value for the money. So for $200, that's going to cover our team helping to invite people into your firm, getting the workflow set up, customizing things like your Next Message client texting, where you can automate texts that are sent out to your clients, or the NextChapter debtor portal with your firm's contact information, making sure that the clients, when they log in, are going to be able to see the sections that you want them to see and fill out, or maybe just as importantly, they are not seeing sections if you don't want them to fill it out, or if there's any custom instructions or whatever else. So that concierge service is really great to get that extra helping hand with getting the account set up. It's particularly helpful for bigger firms or firms that purchase multiple add-on tools. The last thing here, the shell case import. This is a way for us to capture some of the information that might be in your current bankruptcy software for your cases, so that we can bring those cases into NextChapter. You can continue to manage them from NextChapter, including notices. The NextChapter Concierge will actually cover your first 100 cases. So the shell case import is $50 per 100 cases. That $50 is built into the Concierge that covers that as well. So, okay, again, we'll enter our credit card information. We'll select the right pricing plan. We'll choose any add-ons or Chapter 13 plans that we're interested in. And we're going to work a little bit farther down here, our credit report integration. If you are interested in running credit reports in NextChapter, you're going to need to fill out this application. This will get you set up with Universal Credit Services. They are our partners to provide those reports. Those reports are going to be tri-merge reports. It'll be all three bureaus. And when the report does import, we'll scrape that information and apply it throughout the schedules for you. So you may already have a similar functionality with your current software. This is just another way to bring that over and kind of streamline that process of getting set up. Below that on the integrations tab is where you are going to control your settings for NextChapter or Next Message if you purchase those. This is also where you're going to set up your Clio integration. So if you are using Clio in the firm and you want to create that sync, you're going to come to that Clio integration tab and you'll go ahead and sync it. I have mine set up to sync our contacts and bankruptcy matters. It's going to send all events from the NextChapter calendar over to my firm calendar on Clio. It's also going to sync all the tasks with my cases in NextChapter with the tasks on the matter in Clio. So if you're interested in that, that's where you're going to set it up. Below that is going to be further customizations, and I'm not going to dive into each and every one of these, but this is going to be all of your firm defaults. So if you do have particular defaults that you want to have set up, whether that's default tasks on your task list or document checklists or your attorney fees, you can do all of that here. If you need to add in firm filing templates, if there's a particular way that you know you need to file, you can set it up that way as well. We do have templates already in there, some default templates for complete filing and emergency filing, but you can further customize there. But the one I do want to spend some time on is this common and default creditor section. So of course, just like many of our competitors, we do have a common creditor list. And if you can export your common creditor list from your previous platform in a CSV file, you can actually import all of them directly into NextChapter, and that's at no additional cost. So you would just go in, you'd export your common creditor list, come in here, click Import CSV, load it into NextChapter, and you're all set and ready to go. Now we have expanded that concept of those common creditors to include common assets, common courts, common companies if you have a major employer in your area, and you can add those in from this settings section as well through these different areas in your settings. Okay, so just to do a quick recap, we went to the website, we created our free account and signed in. We then came into our account settings so that we could invite additional users, enter our credit card information, select the right plans and add-on tools. We need to fill out that application for the credit report integration, and then finally tweak any of those firm defaults and upload our common creditor list. So that's some of the how to make a switch. I'm going to turn things back over to Eric here so that he can tell you a little bit more about why so many attorneys are switching over to NextChapter.
All right, excellent. So so at this point, we're now all set up. Our firm is entirely set up in NextChapter. So we've got our common creditors, as Colin said, we've got our integrations all set up, ready to go. So now we're going to actually see what filing a case would look like. So I'm going to give you a high-level overview of kind of what to expect from NextChapter. We've got our dashboard here. So starting out with the calendar, this is where you'll see any integrations with Clio that pop up. We do have Notices AI, which is our Pacer notice tracking feature. This is free with included with any pro plan. So if you file more than 12 cases a year or so, about a case a month, the pro plan is going to make the most sense. We'll cover that a little bit later. But this is where you'd find that. And then your recent cases are going to be up here in the left-hand side of the screen. So it's very, very simple to start a new case. You simply enter the first name and last name of your debtor, the filing district, and then what type of bankruptcy it is. You click Start New Case. You can also expand this section and sort your cases however you would like based on last updated. You can duplicate them if you have any amendments, and you can archive the cases here. So you can sort them again by any means up here as long as you'd like. Export them as a CSV file. So we're going to hop into Johnny and Julie Appleseed here just as a test case. This is kind of a dummy case that we created for these demonstrations. But we're now in the case dashboard. So this is Johnny and Julie Appleseed's case. There are debtors here. So you can see here in the case dashboard some of the basic client information that you'll enter, their phone numbers, email addresses, quick information here. So one interesting thing or useful thing about this is under status, you can change it to a lead if you'd like. So you can add people into your NextChapter who are not necessarily filing yet, but they're just leads, so you know to follow up with them. So it's a little bit of case management, a little bit of overlap with something like Clio for people who want just a couple of those features. We can add those in as well. So here we have our comment section as well. Everything is timestamped here. You're able to print these out. This is extremely useful for firms with multiple attorneys or multiple paralegals working on the same case. They're able to add comments, and everyone can kind of be up to date and see what has been entered and what hasn't been entered and where we are in the entire filing process. Print them out for notes, share them with clients, whatever you need to do. So over in the top right here, getting set up, we've got our documents, tasks, events, and then fees and timer as well. So I'll just go through these very briefly. You can set all these up in the account settings, which Colin just showed. There's a setting in there to create your common documents. So these are saved across all of your cases. So any of these or any of these particular tasks or documents that you know you'll need to enter, you can set this up and check them off as you complete them. Okay, so moving down the list here, we call this list on the left-hand side of our screen here our Bankruptcy Web Workflow. And one thing you might notice as an experienced attorney, if you filed bankruptcies before, at least for the moment, we've kind of done away with the normal schedules that you would see. So those are going to come back later. We found that the easiest way to enter a bankruptcy is not necessarily through the schedules. That's kind of the way that the court would like you to, that's the easiest way for them to process it. The easiest way for an attorney or a paralegal to enter the information is actually this way. So you can see here we've got credit reports. Once the integration is finished, it'll show up here. We encourage you, you can pop around as much as you'd like to the sections here, but we recommend that you start from the top and work your way to the bottom. A lot of those double and triple double and triple data entry areas where you're entering the same thing in 2 or 3 sections, we've tried to do away with. Bankruptcy, as you understand, is a very form heavy, very data entry heavy kind of process, and we try to trim as much of the unnecessary double data entry as we possibly can. So I'll show you that here. But in client profile, you can see filing information. And again, you just want to work top to bottom. And I'm not going to dive into all of the specifics of each of these categories here. If you would like a more in-depth demo, we're happy to provide that. But this is just going to be kind of a high-level overview of what you can expect when you sign into your account and start filing for the first time. So you can see here in client profile just some basic information, the nature of the debt, the type of debtor, basic information here. Working your way down through the debtor profile, all the information is going to be entered here as well. So we'll dive into the real property section here. So you can see 555 Orchard Lane here. Now, if we want to go and edit that, obviously to add a property, you just click Add a Property here. But we'll just go ahead and jump in and edit this one. So you can see all of the property information in the left here in this section. So you can kind of browse that and go through, enter these things as you need to enter them. One of the places where NextChapter shines through is our asset calculator. So some of the simple arithmetic that you have that can kind of drain on you, especially if you've got a lot of property or a lot of property or vehicles or anything like that. This simulates simplifies some of the arithmetic that you might have to do, calculating the value that you enter, subtracting the liens out, so you can get how much is unexempt from the property. So if you go into lien here, for example, and you get here just by adding lien or adding exemption here at the bottom, you enter all the information here, and it's automatically input into the asset calculator, so you can see the numbers update automatically as you're going through.
The other thing to keep in mind when we are entering in those liens and exemptions, when you do run a credit report, these liens are already going to be in NextChapter. They'll already be designated either as a secured claim or an unsecured non-priority claim. And so the alternative is, rather than re-entering it here, when we do get down to that secured claim section, we can actually find that mortgage and we can tie it back to the property. So it's just a couple of different ways to try to speed up that process, to make it a little bit easier with that data entry, where you've already entered that lien, or you've already gotten that lien from the credit report. It's already in the system. We just tie it back to the property, and then it'll show up here once we've done that. And I'm sure that Eric will touch on that when we do get a little bit further.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've gone through real property here. Once we get into personal property, I'm just going to cover a lot of this stuff is mostly self-explanatory, entering vehicles. And again, a lot of this information links with the credit reports, as Colin mentioned. But I'll just highlight here in personal items, for example, if we want to add another item to household goods here, you can see we have our common assets that you would have entered back in the settings that Colin mentioned. Click that. So let's say most of your clients are going to have a bed set, and it's roughly the same price across different clients. So we have a common asset labeled here, so we don't have to enter all this information again multiple times. You add the common asset, the description, and the value. And you can also enter a brand new common asset and then save it as a common asset if you'd like. So we'll save and close here, and you can see bed set will pop up here. The total value is listed here, and then everything is populated across the document. Okay, so that's the same thing with jewelry, money and accounts, any information that you need to enter here. Going down here to the claim section. So this is an interesting section as well. As Colin mentioned, the information about the creditors from the claims section is automatically entered into the proper section, either D, E, or F, the proper schedule, if you link your credit reports. So we highly encourage you to do that. Link your credit reports with NextChapter. It makes things a lot easier, and it speeds up the process quite a bit. Now, if for whatever reason you enter in a claim in the improper section, or if it downloads to the wrong section, you're able to very easily move from section to section. So here we can see secured claims were in Schedule D. Now, if we notice that this vehicle here, this asset needs to be moved to section E, you can very easily click a button here and it automatically updates it. So now we go to section E and we can see the property here. So, and vice versa, you can move it back and forth. Anything that you need to move, you just click D, E, or F to move it across sections. Okay, so that's the claim section. Moving on down here to, let's see, we'll jump right into the SOFA review, actually. So this is one of the most interesting aspects of the NextChapter program. we found that most of the information from the statement of financial affairs is actually already entered at some point in the document. So it is kind of a summary of a lot of the things that you've already entered. So instead of having you fill out the entire thing from scratch all over again, it's very, very easy to pull the information from the previous entries in the document and then fill out the SOFA for you. So essentially, the SOFA is already done. You don't have to actually fill out anything. Now, if you do in your review of the application, the petition, notice a mistake or something that was misentered. So let's say, for example, this number is 12,000 right here, and that amount should be 8,000 or something like that. Each section has a button to go revisit that specific section, so you don't have to go dig in the back end and try to search for where you entered that. So if I want to revisit gross yearly income here, I would just click revisit here. We would change this, let's say, to 8,000. And now one of the unique features with us being cloud-based, you don't have to save it, you don't have to download, you don't have to do anything. You just have to go back into SOFA review and you'll see this is now updated at 8,000. So it populates across the document, makes things very, very easy. There's no saving or any hoops you have to jump through. It automatically uploads there. Okay, so jumping down into additional documents here, we wanted NextChapter in your case to be a place to store your files, kind of a one-stop shop for all of that. So we've got your court forms here. Now, some of these forms are going to be just PDFs, so you can see for address change for attorney, for example, we just have the PDF form that you're able to download and fill out and then scan back into your document or use Adobe to fill it out online. Some forms we do have auto-completed. So if you, some of the common forms that we have, this one, for example, you can click create. And a lot of these forms you're able to just complete directly in NextChapter and save it to your file from the dashboard here. So we're constantly updating a lot of these, trying to do as many as possible, as you can imagine, across the hundreds of districts that we have here in the US. Trying to get all of these built out is going to be a huge task, but we're working our way through it. And hopefully more of these will be auto-completed as we grow and advance and move into other districts. So we do have a client document storage area. As I mentioned, we want NextChapter to be kind of a one-stop shop for all of the client needs and everything like that. So we have a space for any documents that the client would need to save or upload, their tax returns, credit counseling certificates, electronic filing, installments fee sheets, anything here. Change the event code as PDFs, and you can kind of save everything in client document storage as they come in. So these are documents that maybe you don't necessarily need to file, but you'd like to keep them in your NextChapter application just to hang on to them. There's something that you might need to refer to later. You can store it on here in the cloud as well.
Yeah, and that is a great point. So what we've effectively done here is we've built cloud storage in a similar vein to Dropbox. I know many of the firms that we've worked with in the past have a Dropbox account. This is going to work effectively the same way. So we can just drag and drop files here. Anywhere you log in, you'll have access to those files, be able to pull it up on that device, whether it's just to reference it, maybe it's a pay advice or a tax return, or whether it's needed to file. And with an account with NextChapter, you do have unlimited storage, so you don't need to worry about hitting a certain limit as you go, as your number of cases grows, as the number of documents in each case grows. You don't have to worry about that space. You do have unlimited space for that storage.
Excellent. So once the document is complete, once the petition is complete, so we've worked our way from the top all the way to the bottom. And again, I've skipped over some of these sections, the income and expenses section. You can view those on your own here. Again, you have full access to the complete petition as you're going through once you sign up for an account. For the sake of time, I'm not going to dive into all of these specific sections, but assuming that you've entered everything correctly, at the end here, you'll click review and file to actually file your case. So that's once you're done here. One of the things that we do as well, we have the computer go back and check your some of the sections that you need to file. So let's say you don't have your ECF credentials properly stored in NextChapter. There will be a little red caution sign here that lets you know that you're missing something. So you actually can't proceed until all of these things are fleshed out. It makes it a little bit easier for people new to the software to make sure that they don't miss anything, and kind of double checks just to make sure you're not missing some of this important information. But once everything is good to go, you simply click Assemble PDF Packets here. So now we can see there's 3 columns here for you to take a look at. There's available forms and documents, the petition PDF packet, and additional PDF packets. So if you need to add anything, an additional, credit counseling certificates or any additional information, declaration of evidence of employer payments, you can add those in additional PDF packets. But what I want to focus on is your available forms and documents. So you can see anything that you've entered into the petition here is now in the schedules, and we'll preview that once you see. But the schedules here are now listed out. Now, one way you can do it is you can drag over each schedule as you need to. What I'd recommend is clicking this button right here, choose default petition PDF packet. Simply click complete bankruptcy petition, all forms and schedules, and all of the schedules that you need will get put over into the PDF packet. So this middle section is where the schedules and all the information that you've entered in the petition up to this point will be compressed into a PDF packet, and you can go ahead and move forward from there. Okay, so any other additional forms and documents that you might need to add to the end, you're welcome to drag and drop those and add those to your packet as well. Okay, so once we click File here, once all this is done and checked off, we'll click File. It'll ask you to, if you're ready to file your case, you click OK. And now at this point, you would enter your debtor's social security number and information here, choose the division that you have, and you can preview your filing. So this button is obviously grayed out because we're not actually going to file a case. But once you enter all the proper information, you click that button, it will direct you to the court's website where you can pay any additional fees that the court requires, and you're good to go from there. So I'll show you the preview here. So you can see, once the information is entered into the workflow that we discussed earlier, we don't have the schedules there, but we've created it so that once you enter that information, it is properly input into the schedules. So I'll go over this briefly, but you can see Schedule A/B, so property. So if you remember from our discussion of real property earlier, 555 Orchard Lane here. So this address is now entered into your proper schedule, and these are the court-required, government-required forms for filing bankruptcies that everything is now outlaid in. So you didn't have to enter any of this stuff into the complicated forms. We use the workflow to take the information from you, and we put it in the correct place on the schedules for you. Okay. All right, so that's A to Z filing a case with NextChapter. Again, kind of a brief overview of what you can expect. We're going to pop back out to the homepage here. And I'm going to turn it back over to Colin. He's going to go over some of the pricing that we have and a couple other things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually, I'm going to go back into that case just really quickly because there was one more thing I did want to touch on before we come back over. So as Eric just pointed out, when you are ready for that review and file, we give you the opportunity to preview that filing before you actually do file. If you do have any questions as you're actually going and entering that data, we do have a big orange preview button on every page. So at any time you can preview how the forms are populating. That tool that Eric just showed is great to just kind of review all of that information right before you file. What I did want to talk about, since we have been talking about the free account, is charging your card and picking the right plan. So with our pricing, it begins with what we call our start plan, where it's $79 per case. And if you sign up for a free account, you're technically already enrolled in that pricing, but we're not, again, asking for any payment information until you're ready with that first case. Now, that will come at one of two places, either when you download and print or when you go ahead and file. So whichever one you do first, you'd be prompted for payment at that time. So for example, in the download and print section, it's going to look very similar to review and file. When we go to the actual download tab, you will see a line here that's requesting permission to charge your card. And by clicking download, you're accepting the charge. So you would click download. I've already paid for this one with our WO plan, so that's taken care of. It'll be a similar process in review and file if you're not on one of our other plans. So just make sure that if you haven't already, I know you talked about putting that billing information in. If you haven't done that yet, you would need to do that at that time. Again, with that per case, it's only going to charge you once, and it's whichever one you do first, either when you download or when you file. But we'll go back into the account settings so we can talk about some of that pricing again. So with our pricing plans, and I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit here. It's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so I was just talking about that start plan. That's where you just kind of pay per case, pay as you go, $79. That will cover Chapter 7, 11, and 13 cases. The caveat with the 13 is some of those plan-specific tools in our Chapter 13 package are excluded, but you can still prepare the full petition for a Chapter 13 case on this start plan. It's going to cover, of course, that cloud access and our ECF integration. It's going to include all of those case management tools that we talked about and the credit report. So if you are interested in running those, you can, of course, do the credit reports on the start plan. It's going to cover every district. It's going to cover that unlimited client storage like I had mentioned. And it's going to include, of course, our automatic updates. So the other great benefit of us being cloud-based is anytime we have an update, which we release updates almost daily, whether it's just a minor bug fix or whether it's enhancing a feature or trying to do anything we can to improve the experience of our clients. That's all included with that start plan. Every time you log in, you have the most up-to-date version of the software. So you don't have to wait a year to get a new update or shut down to download. Anytime you log in, you have the latest version. The next option from there is our Grow plan. So the Grow plan is $249 per month. The real benefit there is being able to file an unlimited number of cases for that month for that $249. It also gives you the ability to download a draft of your packet. So when we do go to that preview section, you could then download a draft of that because, again, you're not paying per case, you're paying per month. Where that Grow plan really has its value are for firms that may not have a high volume of bankruptcy work over the course of the year, but they may have a higher period of filing. So maybe you only do 7 or 8 cases a year, but 6 of those are during tax season. Well, then you could flex up to the Grow plan for that month, get those filings done, go back down to the start plan from there. And that way you're not paying an excessive amount for software that you're not using the rest of the year or you're using relatively infrequently. Our most popular plan, though, is our Pro plan. So the Pro plan is $9.99 for the year. That's covering unlimited filings. It'll cover up to 6 users in your firm. And we do not differentiate between attorneys, paralegals, assistants. A user is a user, so you don't have to pay more for an attorney or buy extra paralegal licenses or anything like that. It'll just cover those 6 users. The Pro plan is also what's going to cover that calendar integration that Eric had mentioned previously. So with that NextChapter calendar, on the dashboard, we can sync that with Google Calendar, with Outlook, with iCal if you're on a Mac. It'll, of course, it'll sync with Clio as well. That's actually covered in the start plan with our Clio integration. But that calendar integration will allow you to sync that across other platforms and other web-based calendars. The NextChapter Notices AI features are going to be the specific NextChapter Notices and Notices inbox. So that'll be where we are collecting those free looks, saving them into NextChapter to prevent you racking up those additional pacer costs. You'll always have access to those. They're saved within the case. They're also saved in that inbox just below the calendar. So that's actually a $200 value that's available to add on to either a start or grow plan, but it's built into our annual plans with that Pro plan. So it really is the best value for most firms. And then finally, the WOE plan. The WOE plan is more of a custom plan for firms that do need additional users. So it's less popular than the Pro plan just because up to 6 users covers so many different offices. But for those firms that do need more than 6 users, we do provide that to you. So it's $10.99 for the year, and then you can buy additional users at $99 per. We also offer custom monthly reporting too. So if you do want some in-depth analytics about your use with NextChapter, the number of clients you're bringing in, the number of leads and what they turn in, we can do some of those reports for you. We can send you a custom monthly report. So those are the different options for you for getting started. Now, I will say what is most common that we've seen with clients is first they sign up for that free account. They might do a John Doe case and a Jane Doe case. Then from there, they might do one case to try out the filing features and see how it really works when they have real data to use, and they might do that with the start plan. And then if they're happy with that, they'll move from there. They might do the grow plan for the monthly or the pro plan for the annual, or they might decide to stick with start because they know that, again, that's the best value for their money. And again, one more time to reiterate, the best value for firms that are doing bankruptcy with any regularity is that pro plan. The way that breaks down is to about a case a month or so when you compare that with the start plan. But again, it does have all of those extra features and benefits, including the notice tracking, which, like I said, is a $200 value right there. And then, of course, like I said, these other plans and add-on tools, you can make those selections once you come in. But what's important is making sure that NextChapter is going to be the right fit for your firm and your firm's workflow, and that we can get you set up on the right plan with the right tools to accomplish your goals with your firm. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Eric again to address any questions that might have come through the chat.
All right, thanks, Colin. So does anyone have any specific questions about what we've discussed so far? We're obviously available by email or by phone if you have questions in the future. If it's kind of a lot of information we're throwing at you here, but once you file, typically around 2 or 3 cases, we find that's when it really starts to pick up. The first case is with as with learning any new software, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, and we understand that. We try to be as open as possible about that and help you through the process. I would recommend, if you are planning on filing your own case here, and go ahead and actually, if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat now. We're going to get to those in just a second. But if you go to our help center here, we've built out a pretty robust system of training videos and such. So you can see here, this is our YouTube channel. We've got training videos from setting up the means test to case management to your calendar sync to your 13 plan editor and calculator. So most of these videos you might be able to see are 2 minutes to 4 minutes long, a couple that might be a little bit longer. They're very short, very in-depth. They go into a lot of the things that you'll need and just give you a good overview of what to expect with different things in NextChapter. So I'd recommend starting there. If you have questions that you're not sure specifically about, you can search them in the Help Center here. So over the last 5 or 6 years that we've been around, we've built out a pretty robust database of answers to common questions that we've had. So if you have a question about the means test, for example, simply go in here and type in means and hit enter. And any article, any webinar, any video that we have, any blog post that we've had relating to the means test is going to pop up here. So you can feel free to go in and, means test qualifier, this might answer my question. And we've got helpful GIFs here and pictures to kind of walk you through that entire process. These are updated on a daily basis, like Colin said. And we do a really good job, or at least try to, of keeping this stuff up to date so that our clients are ahead of the curve and able to have their questions answered very quickly. Okay.
All right, well, I'm not seeing any questions come through on the chat. That's perfectly fine. If you do have any other questions, once you do have a chance to review this, sign up for that free account and get in there. Feel free to reach out to us, or like Eric said, review the Help Center information, those pre-recorded webinars, those training videos. Those are all great resources as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and have a great weekend.